mention and comment on a little bit the sad tragedy that has taken place this week of the demise of Junaid Jamshed. May Allah Azza wa Jal accept his death as shahada and raise his ranks. I was not a close friend of Junaid Jamshed, so don't take this as the light of a close friend, but for some reason the death really, it moved me, it shook me immensely. And it just got me to thinking, as every death should cause us to think. It got me to thinking about the very topic that I was scheduled to speak about here today, and that is leaving a legacy. Leaving a legacy. This was a brother who went through phases in his life. For those of you who don't know, Junaid Jamshed was at one point of his life the most famous musical singer, the most famous musical artist of Pakistan of the late 80s, early 90s. He was literally a heartthrob. He was put on posters and he had fans, tens of thousands, millions of fans. His albums and his CDs were the most important and the most wide selling and spreading throughout that era. And if he had died in that phase, Allah would have knows what his legacy would have been. But Allah Azza wa Jal had other plans for him. And after exposure to Islam, of course he's born and raised a Muslim, but you know how it happens. After exposure to Islam, he repented from that lifestyle and he completely turned away from the music industry. And he, for a while, lived in difficult circumstances because he realized that it is haram for him to even earn an income from his previous CDs. And that was his only source of income. Now he's at the middle of his life. He has no career and profession other than singing. When he turns his back on it and he realizes that that money, in his opinion, and I also agree with this, was unethical, so he made the decision, subhanAllah, to stop receiving a penny from his royalties. And he lived a very difficult life for a while. He did not know what he would do. And it was then that Allah opened up other doors for him. And of the doors that opened up was business. He was never a businessman, but now you have to earn. So he opened up a men's boutique, clothing boutique, where there were kurtas and very fashionable, very good quality. And his name brand became the most famous and the most prestigious. And frankly, I loved his, and I still love his kurtas. I actually have at least, I think at least 7, 8 of them in my closet. I love his kurtas. They're very good quality. And his name brand became, so he earned money from that. And then subhanAllah, Allah Azza wa Jal opened up the door for him to use his talent, and that is his voice, for a cause that was beloved to him, and that is singing nasheeds, praise in honor of Allah and praise in honor of the Messenger. And he achieved a bigger legacy even in this dunya by becoming one of the most famous nasheed artists of the world alive. And he dedicated his life to Islamic causes. And subhanAllah, one of the ironic stories that I mentioned, just as a personal anecdote, he was not a friend of mine. I only met him as an acquaintance at fundraisers and at other events as we all participated, and you just happened to meet them. And just as an anecdote to show you how Qadar Allah, how Allah Azza wa Jal brings people together and different paths crisscross. When I was younger, when I was doing my education in the University of Houston, when I was a chemical engineering major, so I was very much involved with the MSA, your guys' equivalent of ISOC. I was the main person of the MSA, the Muslim Student Association, and I was very, very active with the MSA. And one day in the summer of 1992, we heard that Junaid Jamshed is coming with his rock band to the campus that I study at, okay? So he came to our campus, but not as a da'i, but as a rock band singer. And we saw the groups of people coming and the party folk and, the haram activities that are associated, with those types of events. And this is America. It's a free country. And so you're going to have those types of people and those types of drinks coming, and you see the reality in front of you. So those days, believe it or not, I was a much more harsh and radical. I know it's difficult to believe I'm so calm and collect now, but in my younger years, I was a much more firebrand. The world was black and white, and I had a very strict vision of Islam. And I keep on saying that with knowledge and experience, you temper down. With knowledge and experience, you become more mature. I don't regret that phase. I wouldn't be here were it not for that phase. But in hindsight, it's always 20/20. Clearly, I went overboard. And I did something that perhaps wasn't the wisest thing to do. I don't regret it, but at the same time, had I been alive now at that stage, I wouldn't have done it again. What did I do? So I called up all the MSA brothers. I said, Khalas, we got to do something, okay? So what did we do? This is America, it's a free country. What did we do? We decided we're going to protest the event the way that American law allows, and that is to pass out pamphlets and flyers. You're allowed to do this. The American Constitution, I don't know how it works in England. In America, you're allowed to protest anything as long as you do it in a peaceful manner. The Constitution actually guarantees this, the peaceful right to protest, okay? So anybody can protest anything given certain dynamics. So we decided we're going to protest the event Islamically. And we went to the computer lab. I still remember as if it was yesterday, the old Macintosh. You remember those big boxes? I don't even know if some of you have no clue what I'm talking about, but we typed up from, from whatever we had, the resources, I typed up half a page of maw'idha, nasiha. This was pre-Medina, right? This was, I'm still a college student. This is before going to Medina. Pre-Medina phase, still hardcore at that phase. And I typed up a half a paragraph of fear Allah, O Muslims, fear Allah, how can you come to this event? And this is haram going on and the Muslim life is being shed in. Now this was 1992, the world was much more innocent. Right now I could mention 5 paragraphs of grievances, right? 1992 I could only mention Palestine and Kashmir. Simple world back then, wasn't it, right? These days, Palestine and Kashmir are now background. We have now Syria, we have this, we have now the whole world, subhanAllah. Back then, I can only mention those 2. I said, there's Palestine and Kashmir going on. How can you spend money on haram? How can you be, singing and dancing, nightclub atmosphere and sharab? How can you do this, right? So we protested. The police were called, by the way, and the police told us to go a certain number of feet. According to their law, you have to be a certain amount of feet. So outside of that range, we were allowed to hand out our protest flyers and whatnot. So we did that, 1992. Some minor scenes caused, some Muslims saying, you fundamentalist fanatics, you this and that. We had some interesting anecdotes, I remember from my time at university. Fast forward 15 years. So I've been to Medina, graduated, now I'm doing my PhD at Yale. And the Global Peace and Unity event goes on, the GPU event goes on. And that was the first time I actually met Junaid Jamshed. Obviously, in Houston, he was inside singing, I was outside protesting, right? So in Houston, I didn't meet him. We were just outside halls. So I meet him, this is in 2007, I believe, or 2007, or maybe 2007. The Global Peace and Unity event that used to take place in London is the largest event of its type in the Western world. 45,000 people come or used to come. It's no longer happening now. And so I knew Junaid Jamshed was going to be there. So I took my dua book and I gifted him. I said to Junaid Jamshed from Yasir Qadhi. And I gifted him that book. So I met him behind the stage. We were both speaking one after the other. He gave his nasheed, and then I gave my talk, and then we went back to the room. And then I introduced myself with this story. I said, 15 years ago, you came with Vital Signs and your rock band to Houston, and I was actually protesting your event. And now, subhanAllah, look at how Allah Azza wa Jal, brings people together. Now you are my brother in Islam and faith. We're speaking on the same stage to the same audience with the same complimentary message. Even though 15 years ago, how it was, right? And I gifted him my dua book and whatnot. And subhanAllah, I'll never forget, he was so moved for whatever his memories and whatnot, where he was, where he is now. He was so moved that, subhanAllah, he just hugged me tight. Right then and there, just a surprise, wasn't expecting that, just hugged me tight. And I remember just seeing his emotion. Tears were welling up in his eyes. And of course, I met him a few more times at fundraisers and whatnot. I was not his friend and whatnot, but when I heard of the news of the death, wallahi, it shook me. Because subhanAllah, what a beautiful legacy he has left. And we ask Allah to reward him even more and to raise his ranks even higher. What a beautiful legacy that he has left. And the fact of the matter is that this leads us straight into our talk. Let me actually take my jacket off. It's very hot in here, mashallah. Your British weather's